Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another PlayStation review. Today's review is for Middle-earth: Shadow of War. Now this is a game that has been out since 2017 and it's a game I've had in my library for quite some time. It's just a game that I haven't had an awful lot of time over the years to put a lot of my efforts into, for a number of reasons. But with the game's release being really slow at the minute, I'm going to put my attention in over the next few weeks to review some games that I've got in my back catalogues that I haven't managed to get around to playing yet. And I'm going to give you guys a review on some of them, and this is certainly one of them. Now, I'll admit partly the reason that I wanted to play and review this is because I've just been revisiting the Lord of the Rings films. I got the extended editions for Christmas. I've started watching them, so expect the reviews for them to come out as well on the channel soon. So I really wanted to play a Lord of the Rings games, and the one that I had in my collection that I knew I hadn't put a lot of time in is this game. Now, this is obviously the sequel to Shadow of Mordor that came out a couple of years previous to this one, and it was pretty much adored by everybody. It was one of those games that came out of nowhere that no one really expected it to be any good, and it was a real Game of the Year contender. So everybody was really excited for the sequel to come out. And then, of course, there was the controversy when it was released in regards to the practices and the microtransactions that were thrust into it, that was covered extensively at the time, and I'm not going to go into here. But this essentially is me reviewing the game in its current state in 2022. And in its current state, all of those practices essentially have pretty much been removed here. Yes, you could spend a little bit of money here in the game, but it's primarily on season passes and things like that. So, what are my thoughts on then this game? Well, I have to say I have been absolutely having a blast here with this game. And when I did play it when it initially released, I only put about 5 hours into it at the time, and I genuinely don't remember why, because I do remember quite enjoying it even back then, but I'm guessing there was another release that came out that took my attention over this one, and I never got a chance to go back and play this one. But I have to say, I mean, even though the story here I think is pretty weak, it does carry on directly from the first one. In regards to the story, and you and the Wraith that you are part of, you've got this new ring now that you've developed, which you immediately give up in the beginning of this game to the spider. But the early parts of this game is you trying to get the ring back, and then the rest of the game is basically usual stuff. You're trying to take down Sauron and his minions, so on and so forth, and you do it by basically taking over regions. So you've got your usual mission structures here with this game, which is doing missions like main missions, I suppose. But there's a lot of other things to do with this game, a lot of other missions to do to help you level up and things like that. So you've got your main missions to do on like different regions. You've got things to collect, like Gondor artifacts and bits and pieces to open secret doors and all this kind of stuff. And to be honest, those sort of things don't interest me so much in the game. I don't tend to go around and collect a lot of the collectibles in the game. They seem a bit pointless to me. But I am certainly been enjoying the main missions here in this game. The cutscenes are expertly done. The voice acting is of a really high standard, especially for the orcs and the urukais in this game. They are just absolutely brilliant, and at times really hilarious as well. Now, the Nemesis system has been greatly improved this time around. That was the real highlight of the first game, the Nemesis system, and they genuinely have improved it here. So you've got the normal Nemesis system kind of as it works in the first game, but you will get to a point in the game as well where you can command the orcs by taking them over by using the power of the ring. Especially like the commanders and the captains, you can add them to your army, and you can also then send them on missions, Nemesis missions, to take out other Urukai and Orc captains, so that you can make the Nemesis system work for you as well by sending them out to kill the enemy and stuff like that. But also a major part of this game is you've got to like take down forts and things like that are run by the enemy. So you've got to build up your army's strength with your captains by making them stronger, by buying like things to improve your siege capabilities so that you're strong enough to attack the enemy's fortress and stand a good chance of taking them over. So you'll attack the fortress, you've got to kind of conquer certain sections of the fortress, and then you'll go one-on-one with the commander of that fortress as well. So it's really, really cool in a sense of that they've really expanded on, I think, the Nemesis system here to make it really, really cool. So you've got some of these orcs and urukais that will follow you around. You can have them as bodyguards and summon them to help you. So I really do think they've genuinely massively improved the Nemesis system here, and it makes it an awful lot of fun to play, and you find yourself in this really addictive gameplay loop of like going around and taking over these orc and urukai commanders so that they'll become part of your army, and then you'll use like the coin that you collect to upgrade them to make them stronger and better in regards to your own army, and that becomes a really, like I said, it's a really addictive part of the game. Now, this essentially is a role-playing game. It's an RPG at the very core of it. And even though it tries very, very hard to be like this RPG, in a sense of it's got a quite deep and involved leveling up system. You will get a skill point, and then you've got different categories where you can put in these skill points. You can improve your combat, you can improve your ranged combat. You can improve other things so that you can ride like the creatures in the game. So it's a quite an involved skill tree for sure. But the gear system for me never really... I mean, in an RPG, when you get some new gear, it should always feel quite special. Never really feels that special here in this game. The gear never really looks drastically different, and it never really feels like it's... significantly better than the previous gear that you was using. It's only like the numbers that appear to make it look better. For example, you might pick up a sword, and it might be a legendary sword, for example, so it'll be a different colour maybe than the sword you previously were using. And you'll look at it and it'll tell you that if you equip this sword, it'll make your sword 9 points more powerful than it was previously. So you'll obviously equip it. But it doesn't really feel any different when you're battling the enemies. You don't seem to take them out any quicker than you did before. So the gear system for me didn't necessarily work particularly well. It never really feels special. But the leveling up system is pretty good and pretty involved, and you can kind of build a character. Whether you want to go in stealth on a lot of these missions, or you want to go in all swords blazing, if you like, and go in really gung ho and try and take everybody out. Because the real winner here in this game, again, is the combat. If you've played, obviously, the other game, you'll know exactly what the combat's like here. It's very much like the Batman Arkham games, in a sense of you are attacking them, and then you've got your counter system, and then you'll build up enough might so that you can do like a special move to try and take them down. And they're always really, really nice and special when you do that. You've got other things at your disposal when you're in fights as well. But this is primarily how it works, and the combat flows really well. You're rewarded for skill, and you can also call on other people to come and help you when you're in these combat scenarios. So for me, combat never gets tired. Some may argue it gets repetitive, but I really, really like the combat here. It really flows nicely. And then sometimes you'll be in a combat moment and you'll get ambushed by one of the commanders, and it just adds a real amount of spice to that little section of combats that you're in, because you didn't expect somebody to turn up more powerful than you, and they'll just turn up and ambush you. And sometimes you'll die, and other times you won't. And if you die, that commander will gain a level and become more powerful. So the next time you face them, they're more powerful than you faced them last time. There's loads of other missions lying around on the map as well as online stuff you can do. You can avenge other players who have been killed. You can take down their commanders. You can go on like online sieges of the other people's forts and battlements and things like that. To be honest, I haven't done any of that. I don't even know if there would be an online base here in regards to playing this game anymore. All I know is that while the story might be fairly weak and the RPG elements are fairly light compared to other RPG games, the combat's brilliant. The Nemesis system is greatly improved. The voice acting is fantastic. And I must say, I'm having a really, really good time in this game. And I've put well over 30 hours into it now. And I'm having a really, really good time playing it. So you can pick this up now really, really cheap, guys. It's always in sales. And you probably pay around in the UK maybe about £10 tops for this. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. It is definitely worth the money. Loads of stuff to do. The combat's great. The graphics are good. And the voice acting is absolutely fantastic. It's all top quality stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with loads more content very, very soon.